We are live. Welcome back to the Farm Life Show at Seven Sons. So every year on our farm, there's this momentous task of migrating over 10,000 animals from their winter housing out to their summer pastures, 550 acres that they graze and migrate throughout the year. This is one of the most challenging events of the year. It's all hands on deck. This year was no different. We had weather challenges. We had a major disaster that took place. So on this episode, we're going to walk through the migration this year so you can see all the work that goes into having animals out on pasture during the grazing season. All that coming up on today's episode. All right, so I'm joined by my brother Blake, who manages all the outdoor production here. Blake, could you give us some context for everyone that's viewing this and our customers? It sounds amazing. 10,000 animals all out on spring pastures and sunshine and grazing the green grass. And that's, we're a pasture-based farm here in Indiana, but the challenge is we're in Indiana, and there's also a severe winter weather. So what do we do with all those critters that are out on the pasture? How do we deal with the weather challenges? That's one of the biggest challenges on a farm like ours.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a question we get asked a lot from customers too. So what we do is we migrate the chickens back towards these winter houses that we built. They're basically greenhouses with a clear tarp on top of them, so it allows sunlight to come through. They are deep bedded with wood chips and straw, and the temperature in there is very mild, so it's above freezing, and the feed's in there. They also have access to get outside.
So that's how we handle the chickens. They come back in from their daily migrations to a big high tunnel hoop house, basically.
Yeah, that's built in the middle of the pasture.
Yeah.
So, there's long transportation for the chickens.
And what about the pigs?
The pigs are very similar. We have greenhouses built out in the pastures for the pigs. So that allows the pigs to, be in the warm
come in out of the woods, out of the pastures. They still have access to get outside. Obviously, it's wintertime, though.
Yeah, so they want to spend most of their time snuggled up in the greenhouse and some straw.
And with the cattle, the biggest challenge there is they're 1,000-pound animals. We don't want a bunch of cattle out on the farm during the winter because it gets so wet. There's a lot of freezing and thawing. Yeah. We really don't want to turn our pastures into mud. Yeah. So our goal is to have all of our cattle finished and harvested by winter.
Yeah, November, December.
Each season. Yep. And then each spring, then we bring in new calves that actually come from the south, and you'll explain that on the episode as we get into this. But first, take us through the migration of the hens out to spring pastures. So they're in these hoop houses. How do we actually get 10,000 hens? Like, do we go in and, for those listening, do we go in and pick them up and kind of walk them out to pasture? How does it go?
That would be a lot of work, so we don't want to do that. But what we do, it's super stress-free. All we do is we have these portable buildings that they're rotated in the summer in.
Portable greenhouses.
The greenhouses, yeah. So those greenhouses are just pulled right up alongside the winter greenhouses. Uh-huh. And all we do is just, transfer all the feed, the water into those new greenhouses and the nest boxes, everything. And the chickens just naturally want to go, where the feed is, where the water, and where the green grass is. So we give them access to that. And it usually takes about 3 or 4 days where we just let them get used to the new, buildings, and they can go back and forth. So it's, we're not forcing them in one new environment.
And they want to be outside anyway. So, and so then we surround basically those portable houses with electric netting that keeps the hens in, safe, predators out, and the guard dogs do their job much better then. And so then once the chickens are out in those portable buildings, then we're able to move them every day to a fresh pasture spot. So.
They are.
Blake, every year, and especially this year, we had more hens. We're up to about 10,000 hens, and so we had some
projects ready for that.
Yeah, I know Bruce had to build some new greenhouses, portable greenhouses.
I think he built 3 new ones.
That was a real time crunch for him to be ready in time. And then
he has a great team, though. They got it done in like a day and a half.
They did great with that. We also needed more pasture space for the 10,000 hens, so we currently have been utilizing a 100-acre pasture field, which has worked for a while, but we needed to expand to more pastures. But we were surrounded by woods and ravines, so you guys had to do some major clearing
projects, excavating projects. So we had to the one path we had to cut a bunch of trees. It's down this steep hill.
Big ravine, you basically had to level out, put a culvert in it, right?
Yeah, we did. We did. So we had to level it off, put a culvert so the water could still drain across. And that took about 2 days, 3 days to get that project done, though.
So now we can move those portable buildings. I mean,
Yes.
those are 20 by
40.
20 by
48.
40 foot buildings.
20 by 48.
Yeah,
Yep.
so big buildings that we're moving down through the ravines, through the woods, to a new pasture that we
Yeah.
haven't had hens on, 60-acre field. So
60 acres,
that
yeah.
will allow for expansion, and we want to make sure we don't have too many animals in one place for too long. So being able to access more of the farm is pretty important. So that was the hen migration. Blake, take us now to the pigs. So they're in a similar setup in a greenhouse, and
Yep.
what's the process of, again, moving pigs?
That can always be challenging to move them, but we try to do it in the most stress-free way as possible. And the best way to do that is literally just let them naturally want to go. So what we'll do is just
Kind of like allure them.
Yeah, just start opening the gates to the pasture and out to the woods, so they just naturally want to migrate out that direction. Something else we'll do is we'll just throw non-GMO corn and soybean feed right out inside of a trailer that's hydraulic. It lowers to the ground, and they just kind of walk on. You just kind of close the gate, and
Can you give this really cool trailer that hydraulically lowers and,
it goes up and
lifts,
down. Yeah.
and so that's a great
it's like just walking straight in. They don't have to jump up into anything. So
one of the most essential tools for the pasture-raised hog business
is.
having one of those on your farm. Okay, now let's talk cattle, Blake. So it's really, this is where it's kind of a real race against time to have all the fences and water lines ready in time for the new calves that arrive.
the cattle
in spring.
usually come the 3rd to 4th week of April. So
Yeah. So what's
a deadline
How
to
many
it.
miles of fencing are you having to repair and maintain to
So-
make sure it's all ready?
we check about 30 miles of fencing every year. So we're driving through along the fence rows. We're looking for any shorts. We have electric fence, so we're looking for anything that's grounding out. A big thing that happens is during the winter we have trees that will get blown over and onto the fence that we have to, figure out how to cut them down. And
What about water lines? So Blake, to have all these animals, 10,000 animals out on the 550 acres, they have to have fresh water. So that involves some setup in the spring.
it does. So we have to go through and repressurize everything coming out of the winter, and there's always some leaks. And
I actually saw a leak. It looks like a kind of a water fountain.
It does.
That
Yeah,
you drive by the road. I
a
can see
geyser.
it. I don't know. Yeah, it does. So always repairs there. But did you have everything ready in time? And how many animals, cattle, are you receiving each spring to the
we
farm?
did get everything ready in time. We received about 200 animals. So we have 300 acres of pasture, basically.
Yeah.
So about 200 animals will occupy that. And so this year, they came about the 4th week of April, and we were ready in time, barely.
Yeah. So these cattle come from some producer who work with in the south, where it's warm in the winter, so they're grazing, knee-high grass in the winter, and then they come up here.
Yeah, the cool thing is they're born on grass.
Yep.
And they come up here and go transition straight out to grass in our spring pasture. So they never are fed hay or anything like that.
So the goal is they're harvested by winter on our farm, and if there's some left over that aren't finished in time for winter, sometimes they'll go back down south to be finished down there. But otherwise, the goal is that we don't have many cattle left by the end of the season, and
Usually
that's
we have a few left over, but yeah.
and that's what's best for our environment and our land usage here at Seven Sons.
Yep.
So.
Yep. But this year wasn't without its challenges getting ready, though. That's for sure. So some challenges we had were, just supply issue. There's shortages of
Fence. You're talking fence supplies.
Fence supplies, even some water line supplies.
Yep.
So that was always challenging, and we're trying to get your ranch ready this year over at your place, and waiting on some equipment. And another thing that happened, it was kind of devastating, but I lost my truck. It burnt. It's a truck that I keep all my fence supplies in, all my water line supplies, all the equipment that we use on a daily basis to move the cattle, move the pigs.
Yep, you guys were
do other
actually
repairs.
you guys are actually driving back through the woods in the paths. We're actually working on fence
we
and
were.
doing chores. Had an
ready.
electrical fire, was it?
Yeah, electrical fire. And,
Everyone was safe.
Everybody was safe. It actually caught on fire when we were out working on the fence, so we just kind of turned around and it was burning. So
That's kind of a threw you for a loop.
yeah, it did. And but everybody was safe, and
Now the challenge is just getting all the supplies. I mean, you had thousands of dollars worth of supplies in that truck that are now on back order. So that's going to be a challenge throughout the rest of the year.
it will be. It will be. We're making it through, though. Luckily, I had some kind of a back stock of supplies. in one of the barns. So we're making it happen.
Yep.
So.
Okay, let's take a quick break. We always want to do the quiz. Today is Name That Steak. So I'm going to flash up a picture of a steak, and the first person to guess what the name of that cut
That looks tough.
is.
Did we get a hint here on this?
It's actually very tender. It's a tough question, but because it's a unique steak.
Yeah.
But tender is actually in the name of the steak, so there's a hint for you. So first person to guess, go to the website, browse the steaks,
Yep.
and if you want to put an order in, that's fine too. And then real quick, Blake, I want to acknowledge some of our contest winners. We had the Name That Breed for the pigs, and that was the winner goes to Daniel.
Wasn't that a Mangalisa?
Yep,
Yes.
Correct. Yep, Daniel actually guessed it during the live
Congratulations.
premiere. Yep. So Daniel won a $20 credit, although he wanted us to give it away to someone else that could use it. So
that's awesome.
Jane also was the closest guest on the average number of eggs that a hen lays per year, which is 280 eggs per year is kind of the average that we get here at Seven Sons. And then also Gordon came up with our names for our guard dogs.
Way to go, Gordon.
Rocky and Ginger from the movie Chicken Run. I thought it was pretty
names.
creative.
Yeah.
So we went with Rocky and Ginger. So thank you for those creative names.
And the puppies are doing awesome.
Yep.
They're doing awesome.
Yep. So go ahead and guess. Make sure you put your comments below for that Name the Steak contest to get $20 credit to your account. So wrapping things up here, Blake, give us some rapid fire updates. What's new on the farm?
We had some farm tours that we hosted a couple weeks back. So we had 2 groups out on a Saturday, had 2 tours. We had a church from Ohio.
Yeah, it was a group of kids, actually.
Yeah, Wise Walkers.
Yes, that was fun. We did a soil health demonstration, water infiltration demonstration, and of course we got out to see all the animals, and very educational.
We got to walk through the chickens out on pasture.
Yep,
So
a lot
awesome.
of fun. And then what do we have coming up in September?
September 11th, we have our Farm Fest. We try to do it every year this year.
So if you're new to Seven Sons, what is Farm Fest?
It's an opportunity for you to come out and visit our farm, no cost. Bring the family. We have a lot of different events. We've got pony rides, a straw maze. What else do we do? A petting farm.
Yep, there'll be live music,
Food trucks.
Food trucks here. It's an absolute blast. I think you said straw maze. So
Yep.
this is your personal invitation from Blake and I and the family to come out and experience the farm September 11th.
Yes.
So mark your calendar.
Yep. Please join us.
And we have some major projects, of course, to get done before that.
We do.
And a cool, fun announcement. Brock, who actually is the 5th oldest brother, who does all the video editing and helps us out with some of the marketing here at Seven Sons. Brock and his wife, Katrina, are expecting a baby here in November, right?
Yes, they are.
So
that'll be their first.
congrats to Brock and Katrina. Want to highlight them.
Yep.
That's exciting. So Blake, on the next episode, we will get to gardening. We're going to try to do this on this episode, but there isn't enough time. And you actually had a little disaster with your garden.
I
So
did.
we'll figure out what that is next episode. Won't get into that today, but we've learned.
I'm not a beginner, but I made a beginner's mistake.
Yes, so we learned some things, and really we want to share with some gardening tips, at least based on our experience. So that'll be on our next episode. And baby foxes. We actually were able to capture some footage of baby foxes on our farm. We'll do that on next episode as well. So don't miss out, and always like and subscribe. Put your comments, again, guess that, name that steak in your comments below, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Thanks for joining myself and Blake.
Thank you.